conversation. I think we'll start a few minutes later to get the final people in. Dennis is saying good morning back. Good morning, Dennis. Thanks for joining us. We'll just give it an extra few minutes for the last people to join the room, and then we'll get started on our peak season webinar. And if you in the audience already started peak season preparations, I must assume so. Glad to see that plenty of people who joined over the last few webinars are back for this one. It's a good sign that we are, at least you are appreciating the content we're putting out and you are joining us for another time. As we wait, we can give a slight preview for next month already, I guess. What's on the horizon for next month's webinar and all the blog content you'll be putting out?
So next month's content will be focused on pre-checkout delivery information, which is we're going to take a look at some different examples of brands and see who's doing it well, look at some best practices. So it should be some interesting stuff coming out next month. So stay tuned.
Yeah, and as always, you can find plenty of content around our monthly theme on our blog, and of course this webinar, and I think from time to time some white paper. I think next month we have a white paper in store again.
Yeah, it's in the pipeline.
All right, nice. But let's first close off this month on a high with our peak season webinar. It's 2 minutes past 11. Let's just get started, and well, whoever joins later will be straight into the conversation. I think we can get going. Just a slight introduction for those of you who are first to our webinar. I'm Alvar, marketing manager here at Paazl. I'm joined today by Anna, who is our head of content.
Yes, head of content at Paazl. Yeah.
First webinar for Anna.
Yes, so, my first webinar.
Exciting times. Over the last few webinars, we've had guests attending this topic. Well, we had some guests in mind, but they couldn't make it, so we decided to do an in-house version of the webinar. But hopefully, we'll have an interesting guest again next month when we talk about delivery information pre-checkout. But let's dive into today's topics.
Yes. So today, as we know, we're going to be going through our 7 sort of tips for peak season success. Here's a little preview on the contents page. Our first tip is forecasting for demand. And our second will be creating a smooth checkout across all devices. Our third, adapting to the expectations of holiday shoppers. Not all holiday shoppers are the same. Number 4, providing certainty for last-minute Christmas shoppers. Number 5, should be number 5 there, it says offering free shipping, don't be a Scrooge. And number 6, providing a smooth returns process and stretching your window for returns over the holiday season. And number 7, don't be afraid to do something different. We've got some great examples of brands that are doing something completely different to the norm, and we were very impressed by some of them. We've got some great examples coming up, and then we'll just end with our takeaways from the webinar.
Yeah, got so many slides this time that I think we're looking at about a 40-minute conversation. So and of course we have room for Q&A afterwards. So let's get started.
Yeah, let's get started.
First is, are you already started? And if not, I think there's still time left on your peak season preparation, isn't there?
Yeah. I suppose our main point here is that here we are in August, and 43% last year were preparing around this time. So it's the time to start preparing for peak season.
Yeah. So I'm also curious how you are doing, but maybe that's something we can dive into in the Q&A if you're already prepared, running into challenges. First up, when you start preparing, I think the most important thing is know what you're going to prepare for. So forecasting how big your peak season is going to be and when exactly you can expect peaks throughout the November and December season. And we talk in demands in forecasting for demand. It has different variables. So we're talking about revenue, how many orders can you expect throughout the different days, but also how many visitors are coming to your website, what products will be your best sellers. So there's many different aspects to forecasting demand. You can't just say, okay, I'm gonna look at my last year's order volume. That's my demand for upcoming year. When forecasting, it's kind of a moving target. It's challenging times in e-commerce. We see plenty of new peak season or e-commerce holidays popping up. I think in July we saw Amazon's new peak season holiday informs the Prime Day. I think also a lot of online retailers are catching on to that. But here we're talking about peak season in November and December, so the end of this year. And a relatively new phenomenon in peak season, at least for the European and Dutch online retailers, is Black Friday. We found an interesting reflection from bol.com on their peak season in 2017, and they said that Black Friday was their biggest shopping day for them in the season. So they only started doing Black Friday 3 years ago, but it's already bigger than preparations for the Dutch holiday of Sinterklaas or Santa Claus later in December. So beware that it's kind of a moving target, and don't underestimate the popularity of Black Friday already, even though it's a relatively new shopping holiday. When we look at stats from mainly the American side of things, we can really see here how big Black Friday and Cyber Monday are. So Black Friday, it's I think the day before Thanksgiving, am I right?
Day after.
Day after, sorry. Should have known. Black Friday, and it's originally it was more of a retail day, so people would go out and go to physical stores and get deals on televisions or washing machines or anything crazy, huge discounts. And then Cyber Monday, which is the Monday after that weekend, would be the more e-commerce side of things. But slowly you can now see that Black Friday is also becoming an e-commerce holiday, and the popularity of Cyber Monday is dropping relatively, and Black Friday is becoming more and more popular also here in Europe. What's interesting is that the peak for each year is getting higher on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, meaning that a season that was normally spread out more is concentrated more and more on just these two shopping holidays. So there's really huge pressure on the online retailers and also the carriers to perform on just these 2 days alone. So you can see that year over year the peak is growing on those days, and the relative revenue at the end of the December month is dropping. So beware that peaks are getting higher. Diving deeper into this, you can not only see, we talked about the different factors that go into forecasting demand, and it's not just your order volume. It's also about website visitors. Your website has to stay up throughout the season, and there can be a gap between those two. So periods where you see a lot of visitors, but not per se see a lot of orders coming in, and vice versa. And as we can see here in this stats, you can see that again the two spikes are Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and the yellow line is the conversion. So we can see that conversion rates leading up to those two holidays are fairly average. Then they spike on those 2 days, and then for the rest of the season they kind of grow throughout December. But interestingly enough, you can see that the average order value drops after Black Friday. So people are more in a discount mode maybe, or buying gifts, which are you just buy one item per relative you're buying an item for, a friend you're buying an item for, instead of buying multiple items for yourself maybe. And interestingly here you can see that the overall even though conversion rates or average order values drop because of the conversion rate increase. This study found that the average revenue per view per visit is higher at the end of December than it is during Black Friday, before Black Friday. So all in all, your end of season visitors might be worth more to your bottom line than your visitors at the beginning of the season. So again, some interesting stats on both visitors and order volume. As we said, those things are two separate things, so you should be aware to kind of prevent delays on both factors. On the left, we saw last year's example of Debenhams, the British department store, who were overrun by visitors and had to set up a virtual queue to allow everybody to shop in a normal sense. So that's more the visitor side of things. And then we saw problems at Adidas in the UK, who were kind of overloaded by shipments. So their warehouse was overloaded. It was the order peak that was causing trouble and causing delays and causing orders perhaps even to arrive too late. So do see those things as two separate factors. And I think finally, when it comes to forecasting demand, you should also keep a close conversation going with your carriers, because you can do everything to prevent delays on your side, keep website visitors streaming in. But if your carrier is being overloaded, the whole system collapses and you are not at fault. We saw some of that happening last year in the Netherlands. PostNL carefully admitted that they were overwhelmed by the popularity of Black Friday, again showing that it is such a moving target that year over year the popularity is bigger than the forecasts were. But the problem also carries over to, for example, UPS in the US, who were also seeing problems due to the surge in online sales. And again, it's a moving target. So even their highest fests weren't fitting with the actual popularity of Black Friday. So let's see. I think this season, prepare for a huge Black Friday again, and kind of over prepare, because as you can see, even the biggest carriers are still underestimating the popularity of those peak season holidays.
Okay, so on to our second tip, which is create a smooth checkout across all devices. So here we basically see the average cart abandonment across different devices, and when you would expect them to be the same, they're clearly not. On smartphones, it's an almost 80% cart abandonment rate. Yes, and we would expect these to be the same now, seeing as everyone's using their smartphone more and more to buy things, to browse and to buy things online. So what's most frustrating? I think basically it comes down to speed. Again, we can see the across the devices, it's not the same. Having to fill out the same information twice, back button doesn't go back to the previous page, unable to change, modify orders, complicated website navigation, too many forms to fill out, and unable to find relevant filters. And I think because of smartphones aren't quite in the same league as desktops when it comes to online purchasing, we can see people are using them more for just browsing rather than also for purchasing. So the top reason that we use our phones on e-commerce sites is to browse products, check and compare prices, track order status, and get store locations. Making a purchase is there on the list, but it's not as high as I think it would be on a desktop.
It's room for improvement, right?
Yes, room for improvement. So here we kind of see that again. We can see the number of visits on smartphones here peaks at weekends, and the conversion rates are fairly lower Although, of course, we've got that Black Friday, Cyber Monday, high conversion rate again. So I guess when the pressure's on and people want to get those items at a discounted price, then they are making their purchases on their phones, but otherwise not as much as other devices.
No. I was also struck by the peak in December. So it turns out everybody's really bored over the holidays and shopping online but not buying a lot. I think all money is gone at the end of December. Conversion rates at an all-time low.
True.
But visitors at an all-time high.
And so going back to across all devices, kind of how can we make the checkout process or the online buying process easier? So why do shoppers abandon their cart? Top of the list here, shipping fees are too high. I think the way that this can be maybe communicated, if we communicate the shipping fees earlier on, maybe that will, prevent that being an abandonment rate. Website errors, not so much you can do about that, I suppose. Obviously, you need to have a working website. Having to create an account, I think generally it's just down to speed, having a smooth, easy process.
A guest checkout is a must these days. I'm still frustrated myself if I have to. Definitely. Yeah, it's all speed, long, complex checkout. Just make it simpler, easier guest checkout as fast as possible. I think, especially in the holidays, people are stressed out. Speed is of an essence.
And then here we have an example of best practice. This is ASOS. So basically on the product page, they've got their delivery and return section and pops up. And what we really liked about this was that it, rather than just saying, next day delivery will be next day, it says exactly the date that you can expect the delivery to, that you can expect your item to arrive. And ASOS have a whole host of, a whole menu of delivery options. So for them, when they've got so many delivery options, it really helps, dispel any disparity on that.
Yeah, great. So next up, we want to talk about the different expectations of your holiday shoppers. We kind of talk about peak season as being one season with one kind of shoppers and one style of shopping. But if you think about it a little longer, there's two very distinct type of shoppers in our view, shopping over your November and December season. Starting with what we call the typical Black Friday discount shopper. These are the pictures we see each year of the Black Friday as a retail event. People fighting, people scrambling to get the last TV at a massive discount. Black Friday is all about bargain hunting, and I think when people are bargain hunting, they expect a different kind of service. They don't want the full. They're not there for the premium delivery experience. They want items at 70-80% discounts. I think they understand that service will be less when they get an 80% discount. And I think you should also, as a retailer, kind of adjust your service levels to your discount, to the discount style of selling throughout this Black Friday period. Else you kind of get a big gap. You can't give premium service to people who get an 80% discount. We've seen some good and some worse examples, I think in the next slide, of brands adapting to their Black Friday shoppers and their delivery needs. On the left, we see British retailer Argos, who kind of ran into trouble because they kept on offering same-day delivery even during their Black Friday period. Same-day delivery was a new thing to them, and they really wanted to include that in their service offering. But in the end, people just got really fed up with Argos because the season was so popular, they couldn't fulfill on the promise of same-day delivery, and people would just either cancel orders, send stuff back, or just be all in all angry with the company. So I think Amazon is doing a better move there, even though it's shocking their customers. They are basically saying that when Black Friday is on and you're all getting massive discounts, we are also gonna increase our prices for at least the premium delivery options. So no more free or very cheap same-day delivery. It will all be just a little less service. Again, from the interview with bol.com we talked about earlier, they also said that during Black Friday they take parts of their inventory and offer not next day delivery as they normally do, but delivery a day after. So they're already preparing for this massive peak and just saying we're going to deliver slower. But I think in the end people don't mind. I saw some stats that people would go on buying regardless of the delivery time, because they just get such good deals over Black Friday. So slow down your shipping, really. Christmas shoppers, on the other hand, I think are in a totally different mood than the Black Friday shoppers. It's all about gift purchasing, feel good, caring for your friends and your family. Kind of a stressful time. You have to buy gifts, but you also have to, I don't know, prepare your Christmas dinner. So there's a lot of stress during this period. And I think that creates a different mindset with Christmas shoppers. They are basically want to reduce stress as much as possible. Also part of the reason I think they go for online shopping instead of offline shopping. So here it's all about avoiding the stress of missed deliveries. And I think people here are happy to pay for premium delivery. Also, as we'll be seeing later, a lot of people will just delay their Christmas shopping till as late as possible. So stuff like same-day delivery, evening delivery, all the delivery options that are for last-minute shoppers. People are so lazy; they kind of have to pay for their laziness with their premium delivery option. And I think they're happy to. So this takes a different style of delivery option and different style of service you have to offer. For example, we saw some stats on people, especially buying gifts, and here they all say it's about on-time delivery. Delivery is slow. They abandon their shopping carts, go somewhere else where they might get faster delivery because they don't want their items to arrive late. Undamaged, again, it's self-explanatory. People would just want everything. They want perfect delivery at this moment. And also interesting, people who get same-day delivery before will repurchase from that same retailer, knowing that this service is available, and they'll go to those retailers they know have the premium delivery options. I think finally we found this interesting quote by Tim Johnson, guy from a big digital agency in the UK, who really explains it well. It's people are always, it's close to the wire. They have to make this last minute purchase for a loved one, and on-time delivery is of the essence. So if you as a retailer can offer some sort of a guarantee that the item will arrive on time, I think you are best equipped to make the most of your holiday season. So fast shipping, premium shipping, that's more for Christmas shoppers, I guess, than it is for Black Friday shoppers. Great example here. I think this is the top of the premium delivery food chain here at Net-a-Porter. Found some stats that 77% of holiday shoppers are more likely to make a gift purchase when same-day delivery is available. And Net-a-Porter even goes as far as offering same-day delivery on Christmas Eve. So if you order on that particular Sunday before 10 o'clock, you're even eligible for a delivery at the Christmas Eve for those very, very last-minute Christmas gifts. I think excellent marketing tool, but also something people are really looking out for, I guess. This goes to show just how bad people want to prevent stress when it comes to holiday shopping. I find this one of the most more funny stats out there on this topic. DHL asked a whole bunch of consumers what they would rather have than have shipments arrive late. And a whopping 27% would rather get a root canal treatment at their at their dentist, or have their back waxed than have their items arrive late. So this just goes to show how deep this goes for a lot of consumers.
Okay, so on to our fourth tip: provide certainty for your last-minute shoppers. And I think this is going back to Christmas shoppers, of course. there's real time pressure for people want to get things. If it's not going to arrive in time for Christmas Day, there's no point in them arriving a lot of the time. People want to get it wrapped up safely under the tree for Christmas morning. So here we've got 3 types of shoppers. 17% are the early birds getting their shopping done before Thanksgiving, so before the end of November. 24% who are sort of saving for Black Friday, Cyber Monday to get their discounts, but the majority of us, 56%, are shopping for Christmas gifts in December, and 7% are at the last moment. Okay, and this is a graph. So we see a lot of retailers now having their cut-off dates, and this is what happens when people think they can't get their item in time for the 25th. So 27% order items earlier than planned. Perfect, not a problem. 21% shopped in store instead of online. I think the real sort of danger area here is this 11% that shop with another retailer. Maybe another retailer has a more premium delivery option to get those items there faster, and this 5% that didn't buy the item at all. So here's a great start to providing clarity for our last-minute shoppers. This one is ASOS, who again have the different delivery options, the date and the time. So I think having that clarity shows that ASOS are on the ball, and if you get it in by that time, they know they're going to be receiving it in time for Christmas. So I think the main thing here is just to provide that clarity. And we think even better are these 2 examples, ASOS again here, who have the actual countdown. So really making it completely clear when to order in time to get it in time for Christmas. And so finally for this section, I think we're also recognizing that some people actually aren't buying gifts at this time of year, although the majority of your customers probably will be. And so there is the option you could think about sort of giving an incentive on no rush shipping. So if the item doesn't need to be there in time for Christmas, alleviate some of the pressure on carriers and warehouse operations by having a no rush shipping option. Our example here is Amazon, who provide discount incentives to their Prime customers who choose for this no rush shipping option.
Next up, we're going to talk about the cost of shipping. So as we've seen, there's a growing range of delivery options you could or maybe even should offer over the peak season period. But in the end, when asking customers what they want most, I think free shipping will always top the list. So all those premium delivery options are there for the special situations where you need a last-minute gift. But for the majority of cases, I think people will opt for free shipping. It's consistent across all studies done regarding delivery that free shipping it's basically always on the top of their list every period of the year. So something we have to discuss really. This goes to show that for those particular premium delivery options, I think it's a 2016 stat, but there's I think ones from a year from this or last year that show the same general image. People are willing to pay for same-day shipping more than some of us might even think. So here it says that I think 70% are willing to pay up to get same-day shipping. A whopping 60% is even willing to pay for next-day shipping. I must admit these stats are, I think, American. Next-day shipping is more of a premium service than it is in some of the Western European countries where next-day shipping, especially Belgium, Netherlands, some parts of Germany where next-day shipping is more of a standard thing. But still, in the end, people are willing to pay for next-day shipping, and things kind of turn around when we go to 2-day or 3 or 4 day shipping. That's kind of the shipping period where people are thinking, well, that should be free, really. So yeah, when offering free shipping, you can kind of, I think, go with slower delivery times than you would normally think, and maybe ask a premium fee even for next day shipping in Western Europe, because people in the end are kind of willing to wait a little longer if that means they get free shipping. When you ask people what are the services at online retailers or retailers in general that you're going to use over the holidays, as we can see here, free shipping is definitely on the top of their list, and some fell off, but it's almost always their number one priority when shopping. So something you should go along with, definitely. Here we can see that just how important free shipping is. When you compare free to fast shipping, 88% of people say that I like free shipping more than I like fast shipping, even in the holidays. And when you ask them, what do you consider fast delivery? It's not as fast as some of us might think, again, with the next day delivery. So people think 2-day, 3-day delivery is just fast enough if that means they get their stuff for free. And I think this is also one of the peak season holidays that was kind of invented over the last few years. Yeah, 10 years really.
Definitely a date for the diary, 14th of December, free shipping day.
Yeah, I think how this works is it's less of a thing here in Western Europe, but it's more of an American UK thing as well.
European as well. Basically, another incentive for your customers to make a purchase with you is the free shipping day. Obviously, you would offer free shipping, and the stipulation with this one is you offer the free shipping, but it still must be able to arrive in time for Christmas Day.
Right. But then if you go along with this, you're like included in the free shipping communication, right? Like they have a website where all the brands that participate are kind of shown, and so you're also you get some extra free publicity, right? If you're joining them.
Okay, so number 6, stretch your window for returns. So peak season, a peak in orders, also a peak in returns. It's inevitable, sadly. UPS have now branded National Returns Day, which last year was January the 3rd, a peak in the number of returns that UPS were shipping, and I think it was 1.4 million packages, and that was UPS only. So obviously quite a big, quite a lot of returns to be delivered and processed. And then when to expect your peak, 45% in that week after Christmas, and then 50% waiting till January to return their items. This graph again, we've got services used over the holidays, and second we can see is easy returns. I think it's well known now that customers, before making a purchase, are checking how easy it is to return items when they're ordered online. So a smooth return process is a necessity, I think, and it's kind of what we expect as consumers now. And e-commerce generally is doing pretty well. 54% had a somewhat easy returns process in the past holiday season, and 33% very easy. Sadly, 14% found the returns process difficult. And I think when it gets difficult, a returns process, it's really quite a negative thing, and shoppers are unlikely to shop again with that retailer. So very important to keep the returns process smooth. And how do we do that? Here we see return shipping isn't free is a top reason why shoppers are backing out of purchases. They can't get their money back, can't return to a store. And then we see here 42%, a small return window caused them to back out of a purchase. And that was the one that we wanted to kind of focus on in this section. We see that over the holiday period, a lot of retailers, I think when you're giving a gift, you need that extra returns period, because you need to wrap up the gift, give it to your loved one. They need to decide if they like it and want to keep it, and they need to have the time to return it. So a lot of retailers now, generally it's here we've got ASOS. Orders placed from the 1st of November through to the 24th of December can be returned up until the 31st of January. So that's giving the gift recipient over a month to decide if they like the item, and if possible, if they wanted to return it. And I think it's that extra kind of guarantee as a purchaser when you're buying a gift that, yeah, there's no rush with it.
Really, yeah. The other one's even longer. I think it starts at October 9th already. So if you order at the beginning of October, you can have all the way till the end of January to perhaps return your item.
Yeah, so they're expecting people to be shopping early for their Christmas gifts. And so here, there's actually been some research into this by Texas University, which shows that not only is it easier for the purchaser more reassuring for the purchaser to make the purchase if they see that there's a longer returns period, the actual recipient of the item is going to bring the returns down. So the longer, but basically he's saying here, the longer a customer has the item, the more attached they feel to the item. When there's no urgency when the returns window is longer, there's less urgency to return it straight away, so they kind of keep it, sit with it, live with it, and actually turn out liking it and forming a connection with the item and keeping it. Yeah.
It's called the endowment effect, I think. It's the psychological explanation for this. And yeah, you should really dive into if you like this topic, try and look up the study by this guy. I think did a very extensive study on returns, a lot of best practices on what you should and shouldn't do when it comes to return windows. And I think this was one of the more interesting effects he found. So this is not just an idea, it's really backed up by data he collected over a long period of time. So it's, I think, interesting stats. It might even suggest that you should stretch your return window throughout your throughout the year, not just in your peak season. Why not have 2 month or 3 month return windows in general? Finally, we've seen all these best practices. Everybody's jumping onto the Black Friday, Cyber Monday bandwagon, and of course the Santa Claus season. Everybody's just jumping onto this because it's the time to make money for most online retailers. Like most of their money is being made in just this 2 month period. I think at some retailers the revenues exceed the rest of those 10 months before. So yeah, I don't blame them. But I think there's also some nice examples of brands doing things slightly different and not just going with Black Friday, where they will be fighting with competition on just those peak season days. There's all kinds of opportunities to do something different. I think we found quite a few interesting ones.
Yeah, some really nice examples.
Starting with Anthony Thompson, CEO of Fat Face. It's an UK fashion brand, I believe.
Fashion brand, yeah.
Yeah. Who was last year kind of, he had alarming comments about Black Friday, the Black Friday season. And he was just basically saying that it was bad for UK retailers because he saw a lot of fake advertisements, fake discounts happening, a lot of pressure for retailers to jump onto Black Friday. But what he was saying was in the end, it was just moving the sales that would normally take place in December into November. Bottom line, not a lot of impact. And it was, in his sense, it was just a race to the bottom. So everybody was fighting each other to get more and more discounts. But in the end, it's just spoiling the market in all. So he just decided, I think last year, to not participate in Black Friday or discounting at all, and basically start their normal season discount only after Christmas, right?
Yeah. So in the UK, Boxing Day is traditionally our Black Friday, the UK Black Friday, where items are discounted heavily. But I think he basically is saying that by moving the discounts from Boxing Day to Black Friday, it's just moving it from December to November rather than holding out until Boxing Day, where during that period when people are doing a lot of gift giving and gift buying, losing out on those sales. Yeah,
you kind of get the risk of becoming the whole period after Black Friday to become sort of a discount period, whereas that's the period where people normally would spend most of their money and are willing to spend money because it's gifts for their friends and their family. You don't want to put them in discount mode maybe for the whole season, because once they've seen the discounts on Black Friday, they'll expect the discounts throughout the season. And I think that's a good risk he's pointing out there. So as we said, the result is that they just stop discounting until Boxing Day, which for us Dutchies, the second day of Christmas really, with great results. So they said that he saw a 12% increase over the total period, the 5 weeks leading up to January. So even though he didn't discount, didn't jump on the Black Friday bandwagon, he increased his sales. So in the end, bottom line growth really. So without the Black Friday, so that's a refreshing difference really. Another great example here in the Netherlands. Last year we've seen Blue Friday wasn't really a day of such. Again, we see that the peak season days are being spread out to become like a peak season week or even month. I think we found the nickname for Black Friday somewhere, that they now call it Black 5 days, I guess, because more and more companies are holding on to those discounts, not only on the Black Friday, but a longer period. Same here with Coolblue. But what Coolblue has done, they started Black Friday last year a week early, and well, they had a very good reason for it, I think. The CEO pointed out. It's on the next slide.
Oh, next slide.
Here we have Peter Zwart, the CEO at Coolblue, who announced Blue Friday in a video late last year. Basically starting that they've analyzed their shipping volumes, again forecasting, spoke to their parcel carriers, to their partners, and they all had to conclude that the whole parcel carrier network in the Netherlands at least was not ready for the peak season volumes that Coolblue would be producing if they were if they were joining Black Friday. So I don't know if that's true or if it's just a marketing thing. All in all, I think it's a great move. They decided to start Black Friday a week early with their version, which they call Blue Friday, officially to alleviate some of the pressure of their carriers and maybe of their warehouse as well. Spread out the peak to prevent, in the end, unhappy customers, slower deliveries, missed deliveries. So bold move, really. That's our Dutch Blue Friday. Here's an American version of Blue Friday we found over at United by Blue. I think fashion company.
Outdoors camping.
Yeah, we'll be seeing a lot of outdoor camping companies in this section. What they said is we're just ignoring Black Friday altogether, and instead of going for massive discounts, our whole team will be going outside for the day and picking trash in their local park. And they urge all their customers to do the same. So don't jump onto Black Friday, don't go for the massive discounted items, stop shopping, get outside and pick some litter, because well, we have to save the world instead of buying more stuff, producing more waste. I think great initiative. Along the same lines, again, outdoor company REI. Here's their CEO who announced their Black Friday for last year on the top of a mountain, basically saying, along with United by Blue, we're giving everybody a day off, or at least not a day off, but they are all going outside as a company. We're an outdoor company. We shouldn't be doing Black Friday. We should be outside. Think about saving the world instead of producing more trash again, and with great results. So he saw a 30% spike in online traffic. So I think a bold move. Maybe in the end he did make money out of this without the massive discounts. Next up, I think another outdoor brand, Everlane. It's the pure player fashion brand who said for Black Friday we're going to raise money. So we're not out for discounts. We want to raise money, create awareness. And in the end, they raised 70,000 for a silk factory. I think.
Yeah, for their factory to improve the circumstances of their workers in other countries in their different factories. So yeah, nice
Black Friday fund. But I think they fund more, right? So they have a denim factory. They are raising money, and so they use it as a great awareness tool, the Black Friday, instead of a discount fest. And I think this was the most striking example. Again, an outdoor company. I see a theme running here. I think great advertising by Patagonia. They basically said for Black Friday, we want you to not buy something. So they advertised online, offline, saying, don't buy our stuff. We don't want you to buy anything on Black Friday. We want you to stick to the items you already have, get them repaired, keep wearing them longer instead of throwing them away, because the world is already seeing so much fashion being thrown away. Just think about the stuff you buy before you hit that buy button, and do you really need it? I think it was a really bold move, great advertising by Patagonia. This brings us to the end of our 7 tips or 7 sections. I think briefly some takeaways, what we've learned today.
So number 1, forecast for website traffic and orders. And knowing that these two don't necessarily, more website traffic doesn't necessarily mean more orders. Number 2, I think focus on smartphone user experience, because we've seen some, thing that it's not consistent across all devices. Don't treat all holiday shoppers the same. Christmas shoppers want delivery clarity, whether that's the last minute shoppers or just any shopper that wants to see that list of cut-off dates. But still, free shipping is a priority for many holiday shoppers, the ones maybe that haven't left it to the last minute and still in time. And an easy returns process means return customers. And then finally, do what is right for your brand. So if you're an outdoor brand and you want to go for the opt outside REI style campaign, and if that's right for your brand, go ahead with it.
I think we should, that brings us to some Q&A. Feel free to post your question in the chat. I think we can see some questions here. And let's see what's relevant for us now. Anybody have a great question we can discuss here? I think if we expect do you only expect this peak in electronica? This was one question posted by Floor. I don't think the peak season is not just for electronics, really. I think fashion is number 1 on everybody's lists, even above electronics. So I think it will follow the normal e-commerce pattern. So I think the products that are typically popular throughout the year, fashion I think is always number 1 these days online. I think it will follow the same pattern also with peak season. I think we've seen a lot of fashion brands also catching up with the Black Friday trend last year. So I think it will be something that's not for electronics only.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
See a question coming in from Frank. What's the most used cutoff time? It's kind of hard to answer because there's just so many countries and so many different delivery times, really. So what works for the US is not necessarily working for Germany or France. So what's the most used cutoff time? It's kind of hard to answer. The later the better. It's a risk that a lot of retailers have to take. When you are really late, it can mean you get those extra last minute sales, but if that means if your carrier is not performing and you get those items, those items will be delivered after Christmas, I think in the end, is that a risk you're willing to take? I think last year we saw quite a few delays over the holiday season, items not arriving before Sinterklaas or before Christmas. So I would be on the safe side and get that cutoff time a little earlier than maybe 1 or 2 days before Christmas, if enough that means losing out on a little sales. I see. This is more on a day-to-day business. Cutoff times here in Belgium and the Netherlands on a daily basis, indeed, as Dennis points out in the chat, will be typically between 8 o'clock in the evening and 1 o'clock at night. Some interesting stats again by Bol.com, who said that they are, when doing their peak season forecasting, they're also playing with the discount levels throughout the day. So what they're doing on Black Friday is giving more discounts at the beginning of the day, or at least get more traffic and sales in at the beginning of the day to alleviate some of the pressure on their warehouse. Because if you, typically the peak will be at the end of the day, so you have to kind of move that peak forward to get your warehouse, or to keep your warehouse running. So that's something to play with. So somebody else, maybe last minute question. Which shipping options do we advise to use? Yeah, there's so many options out there today, but I think what's the basic package you think you should have in peak season?
Well, I would say it depends on the time. I mean, if you can offer, you know, like Net-a-Porter, that sort of same day on Christmas Eve, but I think it's not worth it not arriving in time if that's not feasible for you. But yeah, for your brand.
Yeah. I think the general set would be next day delivery, same day delivery if possible, really. And also look into stuff like evening delivery and pickup points, because it's such a stressful period for a lot of people. They're looking for that guaranteed delivery.
Yeah.
They might be not in when their parcel arrives, or when during a normal delivery. So stuff like also pickup points, I think, are a must during this period.
Singles Day. Do we see a spike in Singles Day? I think more brands are getting involved with Singles Day, actually, the 11th of November, which is
here in Europe, yeah.
Which is a Chinese discounting holiday, kind of spelled on by Alibaba. Yeah, I saw last year ASOS were offering, I think, 20% discount across the whole website, and I think any discount like that is going to result in a spike in sales. And I think it's becoming more, more in Europe, definitely among the big players, I would say.
Yeah, I think again we are. Does it fit with your brand? I also, Singles Day, it's the 11th of November. It's even earlier in the season. I'm always a bit scared that as a brand you are creating such a discount mood with your customers. So when you start discounting already on Singles Day, people, I think your sales will drop like after that, and then people start waiting for Black Friday. So you get this whole massive peaks happening on those days, and maybe a decrease in sales in the periods in between. So I would be wary as a company to just jump onto any sales holiday such as Singles Day and keep those peak season days happening. I think it's a race to the bottom. I think a final question for us to discuss coming in by Dennis, and then I think we're closing off. If you have any other questions, let us know in the email, drop us a line. Final question we can discuss is if we expect that all carriers can handle the kind of peak volume. Again, I think I don't know which ones, but I think there will be delays.
Yeah.
We've seen it throughout the last, I think, 5-6 years that there always have been carriers, at least regionally.
Yes, and there are a lot of carriers are hiring extra staff to handle the peak season pressure. And I think UPS are charging peak season premiums for items delivered in December and November. So I suppose with the extra staff.
I think
it's
it might be a perfect storm this season, because as we've seen, I think all across Europe, like there's so many vacancies being open now. There's not enough people to do all the work. Before I think you would typically get, like the season before, you would find people who are willing to work, but these days everybody, like, unemployment rates are at an really at the low. So I think carriers will be scrambling to get the extra staff in. It will be really challenging times, and they're all fighting for the same staff. We're seeing more and more retailers carriers entering the space. So yeah, I think there will be delays again. There's nothing really we can do about it. So maybe we should critically look at the system and see if this is sustainable for the future. Really, keep on putting this pressure on these few peak holidays, or maybe Coolblue is on the right track with spreading the volume, starting earlier. It might be a necessity, I think, in the future. I think we're closing up for now. Thanks everybody for joining in. We'll be sending you the recording of the conversation later.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, I think our emails are in the presentation or on our website, so feel free to drop us a line. For more peak season stuff, check out our blog. Our English blog is full of content about peak season, and I hope to see you next month at the delivery information webinar again. So
yes,
thanks for joining.
yes, take care.